And we're here in San Francisco, California with the wise and wonderful Bob Minuzzi here to talk about how she is redefining wealth, a little bit about cryptocurrency today, and how she's also leading her ventures, awesome ventures, Babel and Umana. Bob, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Really exciting to be here with you.
Well, it's great to see you again. We had a chance to interview you about a year ago.
Yeah.
So what has changed in only a year?
Wow, you know how this city plays, right? It's a fast pace, and in a year, a lot has happened. So Babel Ventures is the biotech fund. It's going extremely well. We now have 17 portfolio companies. So it's a lot to manage with the founders, but it's been great. Awesome Ventures is the crypto fund. We also have a little bit more, 18 portfolio companies by now, and 13 tokens. So exciting, engaging, very, very exciting. Even with this crazy market that most of people are kind of running away, we're even more committed, and I love to see that. I love to see like all the buzz and people not staying in an industry that is so promising, and we're sticking with this and really seeing the improvement and evolution of the technology, and mainly the teams, you know, seeing them developing themselves. And then Umana is my latest venture. Umana is a new type of multifamily office, and the whole idea is to have wealth redefined. So we are redefining wealth through our family members, which are our clients. We don't like to call them clients just because it just goes back to the traditional model. And when we say we are their family by choice, we feel differently. We feel that these people really chose us to not only manage their wealth, but to manage their lives. And together, we really want to have this new idea of what wealth means to them, you know?
Right, because so many people, when they think of cryptocurrency or venture capitalism, there's like a big misconception of it. How are you redefining like wealth? And how do you use this philanthropy?
That's a great question. It's very interesting because I think everyone in this industry, if not everyone, most of us, we get into tech and into venture capital because we want to see the change. We want to be involved in causes. We want to be involved in things that matter. And along the way, sometimes we lose our like purpose, maybe not the purpose, but we lose the main cause because there's a lot of things to build along the way, you know? And with Umana and redefining wealth, we want to make sure these leaders, so it's all about the top leaders in the industry, right? So like if we have one individual that's a top leader in blockchain, another one in biotech, another one in clean energy, whatever it is, we want to work with them, and we already work with a few of them to have like, what's the meaning of wealth for them, you know, like to have that clear. So first thing is, what are you doing with your life, right? Like, okay, you built an amazing business and you achieved enough capital wealth, but that doesn't mean you achieved your best version, right? It doesn't mean you were living a good legacy. It doesn't mean you're happy with the way you lived, and it doesn't mean you're happy with your life. So having wealth redefined is really, okay, what matters to you? Does it matter to be a good leader? Does it matter to show up in the office and have the people aligned with your mission and feeling appreciated and committed to your cause? Or you just want to grow a business and not caring? And that was the main thing. Like, we see in Silicon Valley, it's fast and you care less about people on the day by day, and that's wrong. We can't just build like amazing solutions and change the world for the better if we can't treat our peers the way they should be treated, you know?
I like what you're saying. You know, like, what are you chasing? When in your life did you reach that moment where you looked at wealth differently, and when was it?
The first time was when I was 24, when I really achieved my financial freedom. Back then I was working with real estate, and that's when I realized what's the purpose. Like, I don't want to just buy units, sell units, like fundraise for projects that doesn't have any meaning to me. And I switched to venture capital because, as I said in our other interview, was I see venture capital as a way of doing philanthropy, a way that you can really measure, you can make bets in founders that will change the world for the better. So that's when I switched from just working to really finding a purpose and working with something that is my passion. And then most recently, already like in the VC scene and doing this, I realized I wanted to help more the founders. So as a VC, you are very hands-on. When you are like an early stage VC, you're very hands-on with the founders, like the co-founding team, the C-level staff. But you get so involved on a personal level that you want to do more. You know, they're going through burnouts. They get so many issues that they can't be vulnerable inside a company just because it's not something we're used to. And that's when I was like, okay, there's something else here. I don't want to just be a VC. That's amazing, but I really want to work for the individual and not only for the company. And that's why Omana came up, just because.
So I really like what you're saying. You're placing bets on these founders. You phrase that very well. What are some qualities of these founders, these entrepreneurs, that you specifically are looking for? And do they have to already have this redefined wealth, or is that something that you work with them on?
First question, what I need in the founders I interview that I'm willing to bet on them. First thing I would say, the capacity of execution. A lot of people have ideas, you know, and I really do not appreciate ideas anymore. Like, it's so easy to discuss this. No, seriously. People think they're brilliant, but ideas are quite easy to have, you know. You just need to read some papers, talk to people, and ideas come up. But how to really execute it and how to create something that will generate results not only financially but for the goals you have. So having a clear way of executing your idea and then making that a real project and then a business, that's what matters to me when I'm first talking to a founder. A lot of people talk about passion, like, oh, I want founders that are passionate about their ideas. I love obsession. Like, founders need to be obsessed about their projects and not about their ideas. Like, you need to know you'll be working on this 24/7 for a while, and you need to be so committed, otherwise you'll not deliver anything. So that level of obsession, it's super important for me. And you can quickly tell if the founder is on that level or is just, you know, I can do this almost like on a side business, you know. Another thing that I love, which is related to the obsession, is sense of urgency. So there's two sense of urgencies that are important for me. The first one, like the market, if the founder is really coming up with a solution that has a real problem and it's an urgent problem. So that's one side. And the other side is how this founder can deliver this problem quickly, how urgent he or she sees it. And this sense of urgency is so important. Some founders, they just think too long term and they don't understand they need to be doing right now, even if it's a play that is like deep tech and you need to be developing the technology and then really seeing if you can scale the way you planned. Even if it's a 10-year goal, you need to be executing and have a sense of urgency of delivering every week something, otherwise things don't happen, you know. So those are key for me in any founder.
Well, I think you said that great, because we were just having this conversation, like ideas. You know, people are storyboarding all these ideas about how to save the world and you know, reverse climate change or decarbonize or empower, you know, females and do all these different things. Great ideas, but how are we going to execute them? I think is the bigger issue. That's a really good point that you made. Is there a specific entrepreneur that's really shocked you or surprised you in terms of like your bet on them and like your return on your investment?
Yeah, there's two co-founders in the cannabis industry that they changed my entire way of thinking about the cannabis first, and they're just like amazing. So what happened was I was not looking at cannabis at all as an investment. I just didn't feel it. I was not educated about the market, so I was still like very close-minded to the whole scene. And those
really?
Founders,
You were close-minded
for the scene, you know, like for yes. But crypto, like, it's just when you study crypto and especially like when you read for the first time the Bitcoin white paper, I was just blown away. And then you feel like there's something that was not only needed, but it's well structured in a way we never seen before. And there's like the real trust again that we never saw without relying on humans, right? So like just reading the white paper, first thing, like first connection with blockchain, you fall in love if you like the whole thing, and then it's just like a rabbit hole. You keep going and you like it more and more. Cannabis on the other way, coming from Brazil, and it's a country that has a lot of issues because of cannabis and drugs, like the traffic stuff. So I was against, but really against. And I never tried anything before I invested in something. So I never smoked weed, like nothing of these things was part of my life. And so I was like, oh, this sounds wrong. And I was not studying, I was not reading about the market just because it was really not following. But as these founders showed up, and of course, market was already booming, was 2017, no, it was January 2018 that he showed up at the office, and they were so well prepared. They were good executors. So the whole idea they had was a supply chain company for the cannabis industry, like bringing from the growers to the dispensaries and having like the warehouse. And they were the first company to have the license in California. So they were thinking ahead. They applied before, they got it, and they were just like it made sense. And that, but I bet on them, and of course like the buzz around the market. But they made me so confident about what they were pitching me that I was like, okay, I'll bet on them and let's see how that goes. But as it, like, 2 months later, first for me as an investor, like the valuation was already like 3 times more, then 5 times more, then 10 times more, just like in less than a year, 15 times more, like a little bit more than a year later. And the industry with all these not so well structured players were getting out of it, and they were taking over. So they bring some professionalism to an industry that was not used. And they opened my mind in other ways too, because then I was like, okay, I want to understand about edibles. How does that work? So they took me to the dispensaries. They showed me all these dispensaries. I was blown away. I was like, what? This is how it works? It's like it's like an espresso store, like so sophisticated these days. And I'm like, I had no clue. And then you keep seeing the people that comes in. Is everyone like us, like working hard and just need a break sometimes? It's just, and it's way better than going to a bar. So when I realized, I'm like, wow, people still drink alcohol when they could just have an edible and feel great the other day, hangovers, and feel relaxed, and just it made so much sense. And then all the medical side as well, it opened my mind. And then of course studied, learned, and I was like, wow, because of these founders, it changed the whole thing. And now we have like 4 investments in the cannabis industry because of the way they acted. So sometimes, yeah, founders don't understand the responsibility they have, but it's not only about them and the company they're building. Sometimes you're opening an entire market for other investors, and then we have other companies coming just because of that example, which turns to be always leadership again, because you're such great founders. They can inspire not only the team, but the investors and everyone in the space.
I think it's a really good point about the investors that you're bringing in. And we had the opportunity to speak with one of those investors, not on that specific project, but her advice was it's really important to know the other investors that are investing in the same company, because that can make or break a company. Is it, can you talk on like how important it is to get to meet other investors, or kind of learn about why they're investing in the company, and how that can really make or break a company?
It's super important in the VC game because we rely a lot on follow-on rounds more than break even. So if you are not in San Francisco, not in Silicon Valley, like Brazil, Scandinavia, wherever it is, you don't need to play so hard the rules. But here you need to have follow-on rounds. Like here you have so much capital. There's an abundance of capital. I think it's 132 billion of VC funds ready to deploy. So it's like a lot of money to invest in this space. And so the founders, they need to understand that they need to grow faster than average than other places. And with that, they will get a better valuation. And that's why the co-investors matter so much, because if I'm signing the first check, so if I'm a pre-seed and then I'm signing again another check at a seed level, normally the growth stage VCs, they don't come that early, and I need to be developing the relationship right away. So I need to be talking about Cannabis, like the supply chain company in cannabis that I mentioned, right away, to know that maybe 9, 12, 18 months later, these big checks will come in because they know this company exists, and then they can see how this it's playing, you know. So if you don't have those type of connections, first as an investor, it's tough because you'll not be able to help much your founders, right? And second, even like in the strategies and hiring and everything else, as a small fund, there's just a few things you can really deliver because you have a small team, you know. As a big fund, you know, you have insane value to add to these companies, especially as they grow. So it can help so much in hiring, like legal structure, take out a lot of fees that they would be spending with lawyers. Like it's just like so helpful, and you want those great VCs that you know they will help your companies, and you'll not be alone doing the whole work. You
Right.
know.
That they have more experience in this space is definitely important.
And more capital, right?
More capital.
You need the big checks, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, have you found that more VCs are also trying to lead with their money and also trying to redefine wealth? And is that an important part to look into?
I don't think
Not so
we're
much.
there yet.
Not
No,
there yet. Is it going that way?
I think it's tricky because the VCs are thinking that way. They're more on the impact investing side, and the traditional great return VCs, they look down on impact investing VCs. So it's almost like if you say, if I have purpose and I care about the world, I don't make enough money. I wouldn't make enough profits, you know, my returns will be lower. Through the database, it's not true. Like impact investing funds are doing good. But I think it's the way impact investors pitch themselves about caring too much about the world. Yeah, it's like, you know, you're not used. When people care too much, it's almost like a red flag for anyone that is like real capitalist, because you think like something is wrong there, something is off, even if it's not. It's just our preconception, you know. Like we were used to see people that do good doing money, you know, and you see people that were greedy doing tons of money, and it's changing. But it's a whole perception and execution thing. Like maybe 10 years from now, we'll be insane to think that those greedy folks were the ones that were succeeding if we could do better, you know.
Well, I think that's great for our audience, you know, listening to this, because I'm sure many of them are social entrepreneurs or aspiring social entrepreneurs, you know, with that mindset of creating that impact, whatever that means to them. Um, but I like that advice because they got to know if they're going to do a pitch or something like that to be focusing on the numbers and the return for these investors. The way I like to think about it,
even for them as a social entrepreneur, you don't want to just do good. You want to do good and know how does that translate in results. So you need measurements, right?
Right.
A lot of social entrepreneurs and a lot of entrepreneurs in general, they just don't think about the results, the end goal, and you need to. And if you have that, you will impress any type of investor. And I think you need to combine both as a social founder. Like you need to have the impact investors because they really will be more aligned with your thesis. But you need to have like the traditional VCs and traditional money just because they will make you grow faster, probably. The same like VC game that I mentioned before.
Right. And I like to tell our audience, like, you should be looking at like ESG or impact as like a risk lens. What's my risk going to be? Because a lot of these social impact companies have a low risk. Um, but again, like you said, depends on the entrepreneur, depends on so many different things. And measuring those impacts is very, those measurements are very difficult to do sometimes for a lot of these companies, especially in the DS space.
Yeah, so what I advise is finding your own metrics. I think we still try to use benchmarks, and in this industry, we don't have a lot. So if I want to do good with blockchain, okay, I want to use blockchain. Like our tagline at Awesome is blockchain as a tool for social change. Okay, what does that mean? What are the causes I want to see? What are the like the causes I want to really see results in my world? So let's say it's empowerment, it is financial play, and it is uh, that's okay, that's enough. So and then we use uh, the empowerment can be anything as ID. So I think we talked about that in our previous interview. But in Brazil, a lot of people still don't have an ID, so they can't have a bank account. They can't have any type of financial transaction. Otherwise, they have friends that have those things. So if you have a play like an ID that is on top of blockchain, and you can use that to show that you is you in a place that you never really existed as a person, then you have your this individual empowered. Empowered because first he really exists for the system. He or she can have a bank account and just do these transactions and everything. So that's, and even like buy a house later on, like have a job that is paid to your real bank account instead of cash. So things that still exist in the real world, especially in developing countries, could be fixed with blockchain. And if I'm
I just wanted to add, no, I think you're good. Sorry to cut you off, but I think what Jeremy said on our podcast is very critical. He was saying blockchain fundamentally is revolutionary. Fundamentally, that's just what it is. So I
yes,
think all these impact companies, it just, you don't have to like virtue signal that you're doing these great things, but in your own DNA, in your own company, you are creating that impact. For instance, genetically modified organic products, or sorry, that didn't make sense. Genetically modified crops. The
yes,
person who invented that and did all the pollination and all the stuff I don't know about um, saved over millions of lives because they're able to grow crops faster and they're genetically modified.
yes.
Now it's looked like a bad thing, but when I'm trying to find a good company versus a bad company, sometimes it's really hard to do because that guy's saving millions of lives. McDonald's is putting meals on food on plates for so many low income families and people like myself who love burgers.
Yes.
How do you distinguish a company that's good and bad? So I guess the question I have for you next is um, for blockchain, how are you using blockchain in its DNA for good?
So I think the things I was saying about empowerment, uh, transparency, trust, like these things are important for us at Awesome, and that's how we're trying to play our role. It doesn't mean we're really doing it yet, because most of the companies we see are not there yet because the technology is not there yet. So we see a lot of deals coming from social entrepreneurs and that would have the impact we want to see. But then when it comes to measure and understand like the timeline to that, we don't see it happening before the end of our fund. So our fund is 7 years, and everything we invest, and we have this mission of seeing the change, like seeing the change using the blockchain technology until 2027. So anything we do that we invest in crypto, we need to see if there's a real tangible result before 2027, 2025. And uh, it's
So that's coming up.
it's coming up. It's fast, and that's the thing. Like people think it's like, oh, it's forever. No, like we manage funds, and our thesis is for this fund. I need to deliver in 2025. If I don't, it was just like a lot of saying, a lot of talking, and a lot of action, right? So we need to be picky in the founders, like with the companies we invest. But let's say going to transparency and trust, there's one company called True Story, which in fact it's super aligned with everything because she's a woman founder. So first, check, like we're investing in a woman founder. That's something that I care a lot. Second, it's about transparency and trust. Like we live in a society that is really hard to trust people these days, especially now with bad blood and all these scandals we see in Silicon Valley. True Story was born to do due diligence in tech companies, mainly in crypto companies, and have people checking right away. So you have this platform that if you tell me that you work Kevin and you lead real leaders and blah blah blah, and I don't know you, I can quickly put information out there, and people will tell me like, yeah, I was really interviewed. So Oprah, Leo, they can all say like, yeah, this cover is real, and I was there. It's not a fake cover and stuff. And the same, people could say, no, it's not, blah blah blah. So you create this trust platform for any type of due diligence, which these days is hard. Like we have social media, which half is a lie, and you have people also like talking a lot of lies these days, and information that are not checked, that finally we could have this easy way of trusting information, you know.
So I like that. And just to add on to that, what Jeremy was saying, sorry,
Of course.
bringing out the Gonzo quotes. He was saying uh, before cryptocurrency, or I think it was cryptocurrency, was the first time someone could exchange something without using an intermediary.
Yes.
So without going through a bank. So that's revolutionary. That's pretty interesting. The skepticism is, how do you regulate something like this? Obviously, cryptocurrency was used, in the black market. You could do something like that. People that are mining them for a long time, they will have a lot of wealth if it goes that way with Bitcoin,
Bitcoin,
right?
yes.
So like, where do you stand on that, and how do you see like cryptocurrency changing by 2025 or 2050?
So it's just there's a lot of different classes inside crypto, right? You have like the tokens, you have the security tokens, you have the equity side, which is like venture deals. And I'm more on the venture side. So like when we talk about True Story, that company, it's a platform, but it's an equity investment. What that means is I'm not buying token, I'm not buying a security token also, but I'm investing in a company that uses blockchain technology for good. So I'm a big believer of betting in founders and tech, right? I see technology as like the real change, like massive change. So I'm on that box or basket, and tokens and like crypto and mining, like the whole buzz that we see in this space. First, I think security tokens are doing a great job for us because we see solid industries like real estate and even exchanges maybe combining their work with security tokens. So that will be great. It will be just a new asset class, regulated, and it just makes sense. And then the real tokens that I say, like the ones that go through an ICO, I think that's the most challenging side of crypto markets these days because most of these founders, they launched an ICO, they didn't have a lot of experience in founding companies, they raised enough money, they don't have a real structure, the technology sometimes or most of the times is not there for them, it's not there yet for them. So it's taking forever to deliver something, and then the market is getting frustrated and not very optimistic anymore. But the good news is you always have great teams. You always have great leaders that will deliver, and those will save. So the same thing that Nabis founders did for me in Cannabis, we'll have a few folks in crypto that they will deliver something so special that will keep the market growing. So
it'll change your mind and strengthen that confidence. I really liked what you said. With people are getting frustrated because I can see it. You're basically asking to change the financial markets that have been around for thousands of years.
yes.
I just don't get why people are so quick to judge something that's just starting out. And sometimes you need to have a long-term perspective on something like this. Do you think long-term thinking and long-term leading is an important quality of a entrepreneur or founder?
Yes, you need to have like long-term vision, but you need to know half of it will not happen as you imagined, you know? Like you need to have this idea of how things would play out, but in the end of the day, it's all about the short term execution, like every week, every month, and that's uh, it changes so quickly when you're building something that is tech backed, you know? And what I think about people in general, like the resistance with crypto and the whole industry, is just normally we are traditional. Normally we like to have an iPhone and the tech efficiency for a lot of things, but it takes us a while until we really feel it. Even like Uber, when we were talking about not um, seeing the transaction, right? Was a big challenge in the beginning. Like, how come you go inside a car without getting your wallet, trusting someone you don't know? It's just the whole thing doesn't sound right at the beginning. And now you can't think another way, right? Like now when you get in a cab, you're like, fuck, I need to have money. Like it just doesn't make sense. I don't have cash. Like I don't care cash these days. Is it? So it's just that we are resistant. We are conservative most of the times. Even the most open-minded and visionaries. Like it takes us a while to get used to a new technology if it's not something we understand deeply, you know. And I think it's a matter of time for everything.
Well, you're definitely the most unique venture capitalist I've ever met in my life. Do you consider yourself a leader in this space?
Yes, especially like I'm the first Latina to be a founder and solo GP of a venture capital firm here. So as I was saying about responsibility, I know I have this big responsibility for the entire South America. Like I don't want to mess up. I'm a leader for them in this industry, so uh, they're looking up to me. Like they want to follow what I'm doing, and they want to see how things go here. And it's just something no one was doing. Not even like men or women. Like they're not coming to Silicon Valley to do a VC firm. So I understand my responsibility as a leader for that. And then internally, of course, like you need to be inspiring every day. You need to be committed to your team and to your purpose. Otherwise, they don't stick with you, you know.
And you just mentioned you have a 20-year-old working for you right now in cryptocurrency. What advice do you give him?
Hmm. He's brilliant. I think I'm getting a lot of advice from him. He's
Okay.
so well structured. But what I feel working from him for a year now, and more than a year, and the advices I gave to him was mainly like to pay attention to what he's feeling because he's young, and sometimes you do stuff, you know, and you're not paying attention. Like, how do you feel? Do I like this job? Like, where I'm going with this? And we very often check how is he going and why he wants to be with Awesome, you know, and he's committed. He could be in any other firm. He could be building a company by himself by now. He has access to all these deals, all these investors, but he's just committed to the cause. You know, he thinks what we're building is really special. And to any young or anyone, I think checking in, like seeing like how do you feel with your role and what you're doing, it's super important.
Well, Ba, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. We talked about how you're redefining wealth, a little bit about cryptocurrency in there, and then lastly, some advice for the next generation. Um, Ba, Real Leaders Magazine. What's your definition of a real leader?
Whew. A real leader is someone that is committed to a cause and is able to inspire others to come along. So real leaders, they create new leaders. They don't create followers, right?
Love that, Ba. Well said. Thanks for your time again. Awesome speaking with you. And
Thank
folks, if you're
you.
listening out there, go out there and do like Ba says, be committed to a cause and inspire followers on the way. Thanks for being with us today. Ba Minuzzi, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
It's a
time.
pleasure.
And we said, yeah, no, it's not